In today's episode, we discuss all the things we did this year as told by Google Photos. Stand by, true believers. Another episode of You're Not My Father is here. Welcome back to You're Not My Father, the best family-friendly podcast from Alaska and this side of Anchorage. I'm your host, Thomas Brando Greenman. I'm a father, husband, and my curiosity and mistakes have given me a world of experiences I want to share with you, maybe even make you laugh. So our podcast is made just for you to learn something positive, something that you can apply to your life as a parent, kid, or otherwise. So without much further ado, let's do something. But first, let's give a shout out to today's sponsors. Today's sponsor is nobody. But if you've got disposable income and you feel like you want to spread the word on your product or your services or whatever makes you unique, let us know on facebook.com/YNMFshow.com. Actually, there's not a .com there, so it's just facebook.com/YNMFshow. All right, so before we get to the fun part of this episode, and most of this episode is going to be about fun, I'm going to talk about the fatherly advice section of this and what technology I use to make sure I can remember moments in mine and my family's life. I swear it's not going to be too high level tech. In fact, it's pretty easy. So let's kind of jump into it. So to set up this section, I'm going to travel back in time a little bit. Maybe not too far back in time. I think maybe we need a little help in that department, a little magical effect here. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yes, I can feel the time travel starting. Okay, well, wait a minute. Where the hell am I? Oh, right. We're in the past. So memories can be a powerful thing, but are they always accurate? I'd say it's debatable, but the saying that photos never lie, well, way back when in the past. Oh, that was nice. That was mostly true, even though now we know photo fakery has been around a lot longer, honestly, than I have. In fact, it goes back to the early days of photography where so-called spirit mediums would use double exposures to show proof of the afterlife. But talking about the afterlife, that's a different episode. So yeah, our photos are a window into our past, sort of chronicle in visual form for us. Back when I was in high school, I was a good-looking guy. In college, I guess you could say I was a bit of a hottie. From those times, there's very little photos of me, which to modern day me, that's kind of a shame. You know, that point in my life, I was tasting life by the cupful, and I was thirsty, so I was busy. You know, photographs just of me were not on my radar, and as it was, technology just didn't exist to allow me to take photos like you can now. But anyway, I've always tended to bounce around in my weight class. If I was thin, it was a pretty good idea that I was probably on my own. I was single. And if I was fat, I was in a close relationship, of various types. And that pretty much holds true today. But back then when I was thin and good looking, I didn't mind photos of me. I'd pose for them and just didn't bother me at all. But over time, as my body changed, so did my thoughts about being in photos. And that's kind of a decision I've regretted in the past. And here's why. My rationale. So photos of me are great. Not like they're great, like Tony the Tiger. But I mean, great that they're a chronicle of me. Who I was, what I was doing, where I was, a journal of sorts. And as a storyteller, it's a way to tell the story of me. I don't think I really grasped that concept fully, but being a father has changed a lot of that. At some point, I'll be gone. And honestly, we all will. And if we don't leave behind anything, the only thing that's left is memories. And eventually those memories fade and fall away. It's that reason why ancients painted the walls of caves, why stories are passed down from generation to generation, around fires and, to buildings and other parts of civilization. It's more than just our history. This type of storytelling, it's a form of immortality. So the ancient Romans knew this very well, and they were well-to-do people, prioritized their memories in works of art, games, tombs, and more. For modern people, we can write in journals and we can tell stories, but the easiest option is photographs right now or videos. It's kind of a golden age of sorts where most of the people on the planet have a phone of some sort that can take photos in demand. It's a real powerful tool that we still haven't fully appreciated the pros and cons of. I'm thankful and sad that I don't have that. I didn't have that tech when I was younger. It would have been a dual-edged sword of sorts. It probably would have gotten me in a lot of trouble. But something I will have to caution my kids about when the time is right. Although my daughter has had a light version of the speech about, you shouldn't be taking these types of pictures, or, if somebody asks you to do this, don't do that. But anyway, for me, I've been a Google user for several years. I've had a lot of Google phones. I did have the first iPhone. I recently made a switch to the new iPhone, so that was a big change for everybody that knows me. For me, it wasn't that big a deal. But I have, and I've always kind of used their Google Photos apps. I still use it, not just for the photos, but for the storage. But in a nutshell, I take a picture or a video, and that media gets uploaded to the cloud, and I can view a chronological history and photos and videos. I can print photo books and a whole lot more. In the past couple years, the AI part of it can even identify objects in my pictures. So let's say I wanted to find a picture of a cat. I type in the word cat. I see all my pictures with a cat. Maybe I want to see pictures of me. I can click on a button of me, and that shows photos of me. Or I can do that with my kids, and vice versa. You get the idea. It's like a database of sorts. Indeed, it's kind of a good number of my photos are pictures that I've taken of notes or other things that I want to document it, especially for work. Why write it down when you've got a photographic memory in your hands all the time? It's pretty powerful stuff. But to circle back to the point on my pictures, I'm slowly embracing the want, need, desire to have more pictures of me taken. Not because I want to look at them. I really don't. I don't. But it's more that I want my kids, my grandkids, and the beyond to know who I am. What my story is, my immortality. The Romans surely would understand, and I hope so too. I hope you do. But enough of the seriousness. Let's get to the fun part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Google Photos, and I'm going to describe some of the highlights of my year, via photos. It's kind of weird in this podcast. You can't see my photos and whatnot. But I'll do my best to paint a picture of what's happened via my photographic memory and share my story with you. So are you ready? Well, let's go. All right. Well, thanks for waiting. All right, here we go. So I'm opening up Google Photos on my computer here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually not start at the beginning of 2021. I'm going to try to get where my mind was and what was going on back in December of 2020. And so right away I see a picture of my cat with Baby Yoda. That was a thing. The Mandalorian was pretty big back then. Obviously, I can see kind of a telling picture in these stories here. Lots of different cats. Snow which is pretty ubiquitous for us in Alaska. The cats are always with us, and the snow is with us for at least 6 months out of the year. So there's that. There's also some evidence of some healthy eating. There's some chopped Brussels sprouts, which are really good roasted with hot sauce. So pretty easy to do in theory. Um, I typically take out the outer peel of them, quarter them, put them in the oven at the highest heat. Not exactly broil, but you kind of want to get them crispy. And then maybe throw them in the air fryer with some olive oil and salt and pepper, or kosher salt, rather, not pepper. And then serve them with some hot sauce. Really, really good. So the kids are out playing in snow in some of these pictures and videos. My daughter is out there in shorts and boots, which is pretty par for the course. Alaskan kids are raised pretty tough. Now, here's a cool picture. So it's a picture of at our old house, we had this light pole, and it looks like the moon, but it's actually a street light. But our neighbors brought over a solstice light that they'd carved out of ice. It was just really kind of neat. It was awesome for them to do that for us. And some pictures of the sun, which this time of year we get very little sun. I think it's like less than 5 hours, which is pretty wild to think of. Looks like I got my wife flowers. Computer stuff. Yeah, so I guess at this point in time we were trying to do our best to make the most of winter. The obligatory moose photos. Mooses in our yard. Julie was doing some painting. Again, some more pictures of what I would call a sunny day. You would probably be like, "What?" Yeah. So definitely longing for the sun because it just wasn't really kind of going too well. As far as sun goes. This is really cool. So there's a picture that my wife got me. It's a Michael Whelan picture. I'm not sure if you know who the artist Michael Whelan is, but he's an amazing artist. But she got me a print of Michael Whelan's. It's a Dark Tower picture, and so it's the character role in the gunslinger sitting on a beach, looking over a majestic sunset, and the Dark Tower is hanging in the clouds. It's an amazing photo. We went down to Michael's and got this amazing frame that kind of matched the sandalwood grips of the gunslinger. And if you can, if you're a Dark Tower junkie like I am, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're like, yeah, I like this guy. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's probably the best fantasy, sci-fi, adventure books of all time, I think, is one way that you could probably lump that genre in. But fantastic books. You look up the Dark Tower series on Google and you'll see all about it. But anyway, we got this great photo, and I didn't realize it was at the end of last year. That's kind of wild. But anyway, it took a while to get it framed, and we got it back right at the end of the year. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it looks like on the day, year to the day, which today we're recording this episode is December 31st. So exactly a year ago today, it looks like there was some kind of write-up from Conan going to get a physical checkup, but I did some kind of corned beef stew. It looks like it was corned beef and some paprika and some onions and mushrooms and some parsley, and I put it in not a crock pot, a Dutch oven to cook. And it looks like some potatoes in there as well. Some pictures of some of my guitars. And yeah. So on the first day of the holiday, I was taking pictures of barcodes. So I was probably having to do technical support that day in some weird way. But the following day, it looks like we had an amazing type of brisket gravy, mashed potatoes, and homemade challah dinner. And this is pretty cool. So my dad had hand carved this sign called the Green Man's, and it hung outside of our house for as long as I can remember as a kid. And anyway, the sign was amazing. It's still hanging at my dad's house. It's amazing that that's thing survived all this time. And the name, the Green Man's, is just barely visible. You know, this wood has been outside in Florida for, geez, I don't know, like 40 years, something like that. Um, and it still withstood the test of time. I don't know if it was some kind of Australian wood or whatever. But anyway, I'd had this signed kind of plaque that you get at Home Depot and you do whatever to it, like paint on it or put numbers on it or whatever. But I think I'd bought it like 2 or 3 years before as a project to kind of recreate that. And so that day, here's my pictures of the template that I cut out with the font that I wanted, and hand carved it out with my Fuel Swiss made chisel set. And I think over the next couple of days, I ended up um, filling in that carving with some epoxy. And it's a pretty cool sign. It's actually in my office. I want to put it out on the front door, but we haven't made it that far yet. So there you go. And just like any New Year's tradition, some of the next photos are eating healthy because that's what we do. We lie to each other and say we're going to eat healthy and do all these crazy New Year's resolutions, which that is another show that we will talk about coming soon. Um, Running around outside at night, trying to be more physically active because this time of winter can kind of drain the life out of you like a vampire. So we're running around outside with flashlights. Kids and flashlights at night are a no-brainer. You want to get a kid outside to do something, you give them a flashlight. It's party on then. So some pictures of the weather. We're getting into January. Um, so a picture of a guitar I didn't have before, which means that, as per tradition, my wife got me a beautiful guitar. It was a made in Mexico Fender Telecaster. It's butterscotch. I'm sorry, not butterscotch, but a tobacco burst type color. Really, really awesome. There's a video, I guess, from this day that Conan punched the camera that his sister was recording on. It looks like the next day Conan had some oral surgery to get some fillings done, which was kind of stressful for us, but he turned out really, really well with that. More cat photos, kids sleeping, cats sleeping. So we're already halfway through the month of January, and it looks like some photos from mine and my wife's anniversary, and we went out. And so this was the first time I think any of us had actually gone out to eat during the pandemic. And we went out to one of our customer sites, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing food. And you can tell that, you know, I have my wife's clipper haircut, so I'm not exactly looking all up to speed, but we had a tomahawk steak with some foie gras, which was out of this world. Yeah. And it looks like some kind of bread pudding. And I am almost positive I took that bone home and was gnawing on it and tried to get the cats to gnaw on it, and they didn't really enjoy it. But anyway, so it looks like there is some homeschooled type education going on. But if I'm not mistaken, I think they ended up going back to school very soon after this. Um, but Conan's birthday shows up in here. He wanted I guess the best way I could call it is a leprechaun fedora, which is super bright green with a black hat band. So he's running around in this hat and a Minecraft shirt and a tool belt. and he's just having this great time. And there you go. The oh, and he's got nunchucks. So if you can just imagine a leprechaun fedora kid with a tool belt and a pair of nunchucks, he looks like the Green Hornet versus Bob the Builder. I don't know. It's interesting to see. This seems like such a long time ago. Um, I guess pandemic years seem like so much time has evolved. Oh, here's a picture of my sound bar that I was trying to fix. Um, I don't think I ever really did much with that. Some videos of me playing guitar. Um, kind of going back to what I said before. I don't necessarily like to be in these pictures, but I guess the music part of it is something that I'll listen to again, maybe, possibly, or maybe they'll be like, "Oh yeah, our old band was kind of cool." Um, oh, here's some trays that I would have the kids eat off of. So I got some of these. They're like multicolored type of trays that like a lunch tray, except they're plastic. And so it was kind of a neat way for me to be able to give the kids some food and compartmentalize, like, okay, you got applesauce and you got cottage cheese, and here's some meat, and here's some veggies, and here's a drink, and it all gets served on one tray. Um, Kind of as a way to, like, get some more vegetables and better food, but also kind of turning it into like a lunchable. And the kids really liked that. They thought it was great. I did too. I personally like eating off of them. Let's see. Here's another healthy option. Looks like it's some kind of salad meat thing with cottage cheese. So again, jumping full into the whole New Year's resolution. Looks like the kids are going back to school about this time. So looks like for my birthday, I was out wood carving out on the back porch in the cold. And I can vividly remember that because it was very cold, but I was very wanting to do some wood carving. And so, yeah, happy birthday to me. Looks like we went to Target. Cats were running all over my truck. We were working on the sign, the family sign. That was pretty neat. We're doing some epoxy resin stuff. More cat photos. More snow. The anniversary gift I got for my wife, but didn't come in until later, which was a really kind of neat. It says when our stars aligned, and it's a map of the stars, and it has a GPS location of where we were whenever we got married. She was utterly bewildered by that and didn't quite get why I thought it was special. Realistically, I thought it would make her cry, but it absolutely didn't. Oh man, the things that we do. Uh, Looks like there was a mouse in our house at some point, and the cats were trying to get it. We don't really have that problem anymore, so thank you, God. Looks like we got rid of a recliner. Here's a picture of the kids in sparring gear from Taekwondo, and they're fighting each other. It looks like Conan's beating up his sister, even though she's a black belt at this point, and I think she was absolutely letting him win. But they had fun. Um, Pictures of the booze in my booze cabinet, which is kind of out of hand. I don't really drink that much, but I like to have alcohol on hand. And yeah, well, there you go. I guess that's just something I do. Oh, replacing the dishwasher. There was something wrong with the dishwasher, and it was old, so we decided we would get a new one. And it was probably here shortly thereafter that we would end up trying to sell our house. So happy dishwasher day to those people that have our house. You got a new dishwasher. And so Sophia and Julie were crawling up underneath the dishwasher, replacing the lines and the wires and whatnot. Um, Good teamwork. Cats biting flashlights, cat toys that the cats play with for like about a day and then quit. Some great meme pictures, pictures of um, my health insurance card. So I must have been going to do something. Um, Pictures of a video game where I created myself and people from the office in the WWE video game, which the character builder is pretty amazing. Let's see, our first visitors over to the house in the pandemic, so like almost a year before that we actually had visitors, and that was pretty cool. An Among Us sticker we saw in traffic, which we thought was really cool. So we're into February. There's moose in our yard. And there's pictures of the kids doing things. Yeah, typical old stuff. So we'll keep skipping. Some more wood carving stuff. Let's see what else. Some examples of some other wood carvings that people were doing in epoxies, which are really cool. Oh, one of the first customer sites that I went to during the pandemic that people were open to actually talking about getting a new system, which is pretty interesting. What else? Looks like February, March were kind of boring. Oh, here we go. March 10th, I got my first vaccine. Actually, my second vaccine shot. It looks like it. Oh, no. Yeah, it was my first. It was my first shot. That picture somehow or another got out of in unchronological order. Oh my God, here's a great quote that I saved. Don't let anyone else ruin your day. It's your day. Ruin it yourself. Amen, brother. Oh, here we go. Not much else going on. Oh, here we look. It's the mid-March area. The temperature was 16 degrees outside, and we ended up getting a storage unit because we were trying to move. And so it looks like we were getting ready to have an open house. Oh, yes, there's a lot of cleaning going on, a lot of rearranging. We painted a wall. Oh, and here's the pictures of our open house. So this is interesting. So we had an open house. We got an offer on our house the first day. We took it, and I think about a month later, after a bunch of going back and forth on, kind of like a punch list. Which, if you ever bought a house before, you have this kind of punch list that you kind of go back and forth on. And the guy ended up losing his job because of COVID, and he couldn't go. Or anyway, long story short, it was a great day, but later on it would end up not being a great day. And yeah, so it looks like we had some more open houses after that. And so we're taking the cats to work and working at the office for a little while on the weekend. Nope, and here's Passover. You could definitely tell that we were forcing the kids to be a part of that. Oh my God. Oh, and so being the best way I can say is, a mixed religion house of sorts, where you have, Christian sensibilities and the Jewish sensibilities and whatnot, is we don't do Easter. So Passover is really kind of our Easter, if you will. But after Easter, I did something with the kids to kind of make sure that they could have some chocolate, but also satisfy my wife's desire to not be a part of pagan tradition. So I came up with my own one, which is called the Smash the Bunny Festival. So Smash the Bunny is what you do is you go to the store, you buy the biggest bunny that is on sale after Easter, you bring it home, then you smash the bunny. And so in this video, I think this was like the third time we did it, and the kids love it. We both got them their own bunny this time. And we go in and give them, their choice of destructive devices, usually spatulas. And so in this case, Sophia broke hers right away, so she had to get a different one. And so they smash the bunny and then they eat the bunny. And so it's a fun way that they can still get their Easter chocolate, but still satisfy my wife's need to not do anything pagan. So it's a tradition that we do pretty much every year. So that's really cool. Oh, and here we go. So one of the other things that we do every year after Passover is we get Krispy Kreme, because you can't have leavened items, and obviously you can't have donuts during Passover. So yeah, we have Krispy Kreme Passover. It's pretty awesome. Oh, and it looks like we're going to get a COVID test for some reason. It was probably because of the kids. Oh, and here's the house. I forgot about that. We don't have, for whatever reason, I guess I got rid of those pictures of that house. But we were going to buy a house because we thought we had sold our house. And so there was a lot of back and forth negotiations on that, and we ended up not taking it. And it would have been an amazing house, but it is what it is. But we were really in love with that house. But sometimes there's a picture of Michael Jordan, and I took that personally. I kind of did, but that's okay. Let's see. We're into April. We've still got snow all over the ground. We're still working on making our house as tidy as possible. Actually, the house is already tidy. We're keeping it tidy, maintaining. Not doing much. Still ice and snow. Oh, here we go. April 13th. My wife hit somebody else with a car. She hit another car, not a person. The snow is melting. Conan went to the dentist again. Looks like most of the roads are clear. So yeah. So it looks like around April, the sun's coming out in full force, and yeah. So the snow is receding. So that's what we call breakup in Alaska, where the snow and ice breaks up. Looks like we got into Snapchat and doing filters, and that was fun. Actually, that was a whole lot of fun, just to do the weird little filters and whatnot. So the sun's coming back up. It's April. Yeah, it looks like most of the stuff is melted except for like the lakes and ponds. Nope, here we go. So Sunday, April 25th is the first day that we went out and cleaned out the grill. Started grilling. It looks like some kind of flank steak with some portobello mushrooms and some beer and asparagus. Looks like that was a good day. And the next day we used some of that leftover meat and some tortilla wrappers and made like a salad wrap, which is pretty good. It looks like the second time we went out to eat was at Texas Roadhouse, so that was cool. Looks like we were doing some woodworking back in the yard, and late April we were out and doing picnics and a park and did some photo shoots with the kids. Some more wood carving outside, playing Destiny 2. And so, yeah, the house hunting. We were hunting for houses. So this is May. So it would be May all the way to July before we would actually find the place that we were actually going to live in. So pretty much for most of 6 months, that's what we did. And so a lot of this was absolutely boring. Most of this is probably boring, but yeah. It looks like Sophia's had some more testing to do or some kind of tournament. Kids playing Pokemon, us cleaning up the backyard, visiting houses. There's a lot of that going on. Here's another house that we made an offer on that we really liked, and then yeah, didn't end up going with that one either. Oh, this is a great house. We went and saw this one house, and there's pictures of me leaning on these stairs, and I'm leaning forward and I'm not moving, and the reason is because my head is hitting this beam. Now I'm like 6 foot tall, and this is actually cutting off like a few inches of my head, but that would have been super dangerous to come downstairs without coffee or something like that and get all smashed to pieces by this beam. So more wood carving in the backyard. The whole backyard looks like a sawdust pit because of what I was doing, carving with power tools. Looks like mowing some grass, looking at another house. This was a great house that we really liked. It was a small 1-car garage, but it had a lot of great things. It had a hot tub. It was pretty neat. We really wanted it pretty bad, but they kept raising the price, and that was, yeah. But we ended up finding a great place. So here's some work pictures from whenever one of my guys went up and flew up to one of the villages. So busy time of year around this time for work. So we're at the end of May. Conan's got another dental checkup. Playing with the kitties. Driving around doing more wood carving. So, and we were doing some grilling, of course. Here we go. So this is the end of May. We'd actually found the house that we'd wanted. Now that I think about it, yeah, end of May. So we had a home inspection done. And so for the entire month of June, we came back and visited a couple different times and took pictures. A lot of pictures, apparently. And we got out and about and played outside. The kids this is June. It was hot enough that we could be outside in the water, and it was really hot. So June 9th, we're still doing a bunch of work. I feel like it was a very boring year. If you don't count work and moving and all this other stuff, but we're pretty busy. We're visiting parks around the area of our new house, so that was pretty cool. Here's a shirt that I ended up saving. George Washington with sunglasses on saying, "Suck it, England." Oh, here's right before we moved. This is like June, the middle of June, and another black cat showed up, and he was hanging out with our black cat, Smokey. So we had 2 cats. It was an orange cat, Quasi, which is still around, and Smokey. So this other cat showed up, and we called him Pepper. And then literally there's pictures of another day where another black cat shows up. So literally we had 3 black cats sitting in our yard. But the one black cat, Pepper, we called him, ended up showing up on a regular basis. We were almost going to adopt him, but he was a bit weird. So it looks like we took off a day. We went up to Hatcher's Pass and went up to this mine that's up in the mountains in north of Wasilla. We had fun there. The kids had a great time. We did a bunch of stuff. Conan threw up in the car on the way there. Oh, I'm sorry. He waited and threw up as soon as we got there. And and he threw up on the way back. He gets a little car sick because of all the twists and turns and whatnot. It's a pretty windy road, but we had a really fun day. You would think that they would not have been into it because, you know, it's not Minecraft. And I was like, this is the real Minecraft. Oh, yeah. I took a lot of photos that day. Some of them were actually pretty good. Yeah, if you shoot enough photos, you'll eventually get a couple that are pretty decent. Um, so we were actually doing some packing. Yeah, I think this is around the time that our neighbors had a fire. I had went to the store, and our neighbors had a fire at their house. It was just a small fire, but I guess they let their dogs out, and they mauled our cat Smokey, and that was a rough few days. Yeah, he was like it was our little fur baby son. And I don't know if we ever really truly got over it, but yeah. So we're still in June. Towards the end of June, there was a big Taekwondo festival with a B. And yeah, so there was a few days later, or a couple weeks later, we uh we were looking at cats. Actually, I wonder if that is Sasha in there. It's hard to tell, but we were about to move in. I think we were scheduled to move in like right on the 3rd or the 4th. But we were looking for furniture because we didn't have a big enough couch. I wanted to have a big couch. Okay. Yeah, so this is like July 1st, I believe. We actually got the keys. We weren't officially owners, but we were kind of renting it until it closed or whatever. So we did like another walkthrough, and we're taking a bunch of pictures. All I can remember is how hot it was. Honestly, the cleanest the house has ever been. So yeah, that was July 1st. So the next day we're officially moving everything that we'd packed up and putting into the house. Boxes and boxes. We made a ton of trips that day. Basically getting everything out that we could before the movers showed up and got the big stuff. And so that night we ended up staying the night, sleeping on the floor with some air mattresses, obviously hooking up TV and internet and making sure that worked. The next day we got our couch delivered, so we actually got to sleep on that. And still moving the rest of our stuff. I was moving stuff out of the gun safe. Um, and then the next day the movers came in and moved all the big stuff. Of course, there's no moving complete without a pizza dinner. And we're taking photos of having the house cleaned out. And then our garage is completely full of crap. And this wasn't even before we got all the storage stuff. So looks like the next day I bought a desk for the office because I didn't want to put the other desk that I had in there. Actually ended up turning that into a bench. Trying to make sense of all the light switches and getting rid of cardboard and trying to get a room set up, which we still don't have enough furniture for this house. And so we were looking for more furniture and beds, Just trying to figure out what we needed. Looks like my buddy Jesse got a new car about that point. Went to a food festival. Did some more park stuff. So we're getting close to the end of July here. You can see how hot it was. I got a new weed eater because our yard's way bigger and we've got way more weeds. An electric one wasn't going to do it. I remember it was super hot that day. I pretty much gave up on weed eating after about an hour. Still didn't have it all finished. Oh, what else? Oh, this is about the day that we adopted Sasha. So she's our little Russian blue. Not so little anymore. But she was definitely little then. Oh, so the day after that, we closed our title on our house. So we were actually officially owners. That's when the rains came in, July 20th. So when we bought our last house, Julie kicked over the sign that said it was for sale. And that was kind of how we like, hey, this is how we did this, you know. And so this time around, Sophia got to kick over the sign. So she's in her Taekwondo uniform and kicks it over, which is pretty cool. Google sent me some socks. That was cool. When I say Google, I mean Google. Um, so yeah, it looks like I've been in the house for 15 days or so, and I was flying to Nashville. So here's some photos of flying over a Great Salt Lake. I don't know if it was the Great Salt Lake, but I think they were having a bunch of drought and whatnot. But anyway, Salt Lake was pretty cool. We spent like almost a whole day there in the airport. I learned so much about the airport by mass indoctrination of the TVs that were talking about the airport, and that's all they talked about. Salt Lake, flying out of Salt Lake, flying into Nashville. Um, got these great videos. So the humidity was so high and so hot in Nashville that as you land, there was all this steam coming out of the vents in the airplane. And if you didn't know what was going on, it probably would scare you a little bit. But um, getting around at the Gaylord for our business event. So some pretty neat stuff there. We got to go downtown Nashville, a bunch of industry related stuff. Always love this event, although it's usually always in a really hot place. So the kids are playing outside in the water. Looks like I'm still in Nashville. Oh, here's the real early morning pictures of waiting for Uber or Lyft to take you to the airport. So tons of airplane pictures, but we did get to eat Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. That was nice. So yeah, that's kind of how you do. You fly from Nashville to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Anchorage. So I'm back home buying furniture again, um, smoking some chicken, hanging some curtains, grilling in the backyard finally. So that was definitely nice to be able to do that in our backyard. Uh, looks like Julie had a melanoma cutout. Uh, What else? Just random stuff around the house. The kids tearing up cardboard boxes with all the moving and buying stuff for furniture that happens. And we're clearing out the storage unit, getting all that inside, and making our garage even more cluttered. um, the first moose that we had in the yard, which that might have been the only moose that we've seen so far, which is kind of unusual. Oh yeah, we had a stopped up drain in the bathroom, and there's a picture of the drain. Gross. Um, Here's some pictures of a channel video that we're doing, kind of as experiment to let Conan do a Bakugan unboxing, which was really kind of neat for him. A little bit of a challenge for me, trying to teach him, basic videography, I guess. Hanging up some pictures because our walls were so bare because we have way more walls now. We got a kitty tent for the kitties. Our house starting to look a little bit better. That we should have some stuff in it. Oh, so the Foo Fighters came to Alaska for the first time. So me and my buddy Luke went. He was kind enough to get tickets for me. This is like one of the first concerts, big concerts that I've been to in years. Standing room only, and that was rough. Especially since they didn't, we were standing outside for at least an hour, and then they didn't show up for like an hour, and it's like a 2 hour set at least. And yeah, my feet were killing me after that. I don't think, I think everybody else in the audience that was drinking or doing other things, they probably weren't feeling that much pain, but we only had a couple drinks, and it obviously wasn't enough to placate our feet. So I got a lot of idiotic photos. Like, okay, my phone is going to do something amazing here. And it didn't. But the photos were pretty cool. And here we go. So, right. Now I remember my in-laws came in that same night, which was great. I really liked my in-laws. Does that make me weird? So we took them on a bunch of different tours. So here's us going out to Whittier. And so there's a saying that it's in Whittier. And that wasn't the case. It was actually very, very nice. It was probably one of the most gorgeous days that you could probably have in Alaska. But it was fun to be out there. I don't know if they appreciated it as much as I did, but they probably did. But their kids were here too, and it was really, really cool. We had a great time. We were riding around, having a bunch of laughs. Got to see parts of some of the glaciers, and I don't know. Kids had a ball. I had a ball. It was great. Let's see. We came back and did some arts and crafts, and I'd gotten from Costco a big USDA Prime brisket, and so I started smoking that for that whole night. Also, I got a new firearm, which is a whole different story. I was really amazed that that actually was there. So the next day, we ended up driving down to Seward, and Seward was also having an amazing day. And we got to eat at one of our favorite restaurants in there, Ray's Waterfront. And we went on a cruise around some of the inlets and whatnot. The entire interior of the boats were really hot, and I usually don't get seasick, but being inside in the hot was horrible. So the decks were pretty crowded. So anytime I was out on decks, I felt fine, but being inside was not very good. But got some really great shots, but at one point it was the seas were getting pretty rough, and yeah. Anyway, I'm not proud to say that I didn't have my sea legs about me, but um, yeah, it was a tour boat. Tour boats are a little weird. Anyway, we still had fun. Beautiful, beautiful day. By the time we ended up getting back, we saw whales, we saw all kinds of sea life. I think sea lions and some puffins and some other stuff. I think, and so we ended up leaving. I think it was later in the afternoon, and that. So I'm looking at brisket, and I'm like, yes, I know what happened. I took the brisket out that morning from the smoker, and actually I finished it off in the oven at one point to just kind of maintain that temperature. But I wrapped it up in pink butcher paper and had let it rest in the refrigerator. So that night, whenever we got back, um, we sliced that up, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So the next day we go to the Alaska Zoo, and we all had fun there. We got to see tigers and lions, and well, no lions, but bears and llamas, snow leopards, ravens, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then after that, we went and got pedicures. I got my toenails painted like metallic blue. We got Cinnabon. We used some massage chairs. The next day, we went to a street festival and then went out to eat at a really nice restaurant. I think the next day we were going to go to the gun range, but they were closed. So I think at this point, everybody had gone home. Oh, yeah. So whenever they had gotten home, we were all kind of feeling a little bit sick. Come to find out that they had probably brought COVID up to us, and we all got it when we were riding around. So this is when we got COVID, right, right after that. So we almost immediately had to. I don't think we ended up going back to work, or yeah, I think we were trying to work out of the office, but anyway, we ended up having to stay at home and in quarantine for 10 days. So um, I took out Julie's stitches from her melanoma because she was dying to get them out, and obviously she couldn't go in because we had COVID. Um, it didn't bother the kids one bit. It might have bothered them for an hour. I think Sophia maybe a day. Um, it looks like one of these days we had a torrential downpour, which is unusual for us. Most of our rain is not big rain. It's like light drizzle. So yeah, here's us out of quarantine going to the spirit store getting costumes, which this year we were going to do something called Boo at the Zoo because Julie's actually not too concerned with Halloween anymore, which is great. But we didn't make that, so they ended up doing just regular trick or treating. And here we go. So this is September. Conan had his first drum lesson with Mr. Vinny. Mr. Vinny's an older guy, but still active musician, amazing drummer, and it's probably I think yeah. So the next week we got Conan a drum set, so he's been learning drums ever since then. Looks like more park stuff, more cleaning and rearranging the house, some jamming out in the house with the drums and guitars. I finally got snow tires for my truck, real snow tires. I've been using just regulars all seasons. Um, but we got those for me and Julie, and they've worked out pretty well. So it's September and fall is pretty much here. Got our first snow right around that time. Light snow. We got a treadmill. More snow. Getting ready for snow. Clearing out the garage. And the snow is gone. That's kind of how it goes. And we're wandering around. Oh, here's a great picture. So there's a park in Anchorage that it's over by this big library. And there's signs everywhere. There's descriptive signs. There's all kinds of stuff about don't feeding the birds, and how it's bad for them, it's bad for the environment. And I've got a picture of this old lady has literally like this 25-30 pound bag of feeding the birds right out of her car. Right in front of the sign that says don't feed the birds. So yeah. So me and Conan are on a laundry day running around trying to get in some park time before all the snow shows up. We're putting some lights in the kitchen, trying to liven up the house because one of the things in wintertime is you want it to be bright because you don't have much sunlight at all. Looks like the end of September. I was putting in a Nest thermostat for my buddy Luke and some other Nest stuff. A door or the doorbell, which is pretty cool. I think he's enjoying it. Me and Julie went out to Olive Garden on a date, which we need to do more of those. We haven't really done that much since then. Well, specifically. Doing some stuff in the wood, the shed, not the shed, the garage. So it's October. We got a GoPro. We were playing around with that. The snow is still gone, which is amazing. Still doing a bunch of working from home. I think, we had a COVID bounce back at that point. Oh, some frost shows up. Conan playing drums in a Captain America outfit. A fall festival at the kids' school. Some more October stuff. Donuts. Donuts are always good. The kids dancing. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah. So at this point, this is October. Me and Julie were going on a business trip to Miami, and so one of our good friends and auntie to the kids and our adopted Alaska family ended up taking the kids to Hawaii. So we went and got luggage so that they could go and we could go. So they ended up in Hawaii, which is another hour behind us in Alaska, but we were in Eastern time zone, so we were 5 hours ahead of them or 6 hours ahead of them. So that was interesting. So we ended up flying into Miami, and it was around Julie's birthday, so we got to spend her birthday having a nice dinner, being on the beach. So we were staying at the Margaritaville. So it was a nice business pleasure type of event. So we had fun. A lot of fun, actually. I mean, for a business trip. um, we went and ate at this really great place called Chavos, which was like a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern restaurant. And that was right up our alley. And it was absolutely amazing food. We so wish that there was something like that around here. I got to see one of my friends and um, business associate play guitar. He's a professional musician, but is also in the same industry that I'm in, which I am not in the music industry. But we went to, I think it was Boca Raton, this place called the Funky Biscuit, and watched him play, and it was absolutely amazing. Um, and his lead singer does harmonica work, and absolutely blew me away. Um, like his guitar work was amazing, but his buddy was on a different level as far as harmonica goes. I will never think of harmonica in the same way again. It was just it was out of this world. I didn't know you could actually do something like that with a harmonica. So the kids were swimming, we were swimming, we were having a good time. And then we all ended up coming back to Alaska on the same night of all nights, about an hour apart. So the kitty cats were happy to see us. My buddy Luke had been watching them. Thanks again, Luke. Then right after that, the kids did their trick or treating on Halloween, which I was surprised that my wife allowed that. But she actually took part in it and had a witch's hat on, so I'm super proud of her. Um, and I got a Frank Frazetta print, my very first one, and I got it framed, and I finally got it back about this point. And that was awesome. Oh yeah, and we got our first major snow. I had to go to a funeral, which was really sad. But funerals for me are weird. As a kid, I had no fatherly advice on how to deal with that. I had never been to one, up until I think after college, and even to this day, I think I still learned something new from attending funerals. And um, but this service was amazing. It was a beautiful service. The family kept it very, you know, joyful in their memories of him, and it was inspiring to me. So we'll talk about something like that in another episode. But we're still scrolling, kids doing stuff. Oh, we were getting ready to go on vacation. We're getting stuff ready for us to go to Hawaii. Oh, this is great. So the end of November, um, clearly Canadian. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's a great sparkling water flavored sparkling water soda type thing. Really popular back in the 90s. But it's in limited quantities here in Anchorage, and I bought pretty much all of it that I could find in the store. And I drank all of it. It was great. And so that was something that was a joy from my childhood that I got to take part in again. It was awesome. Went to a taco joint where they had the bomb hot sauce. If you've ever seen Hot Ones, it's the worst hot sauce out there, or the best at being the worst, I guess. Um, More work stuff, some guitar stuff, more kitty stuff. Um, Ended up joining our community patrol, so I got outfitted for that, and we were doing a Thanksgiving event where I think they call it the Thanksgiving feast or something like that, and essentially lots of different charities team up to give away turkeys and food for families. So we were out there directing traffic in 6-degree weather for several hours, which is way longer than I wanted to be out there. We got a new couch for our bedroom, which was kind of nice. We We had our own Thanksgiving dinner without people because we didn't want to necessarily get COVID before we went to Hawaii, which is a shame. We need to have a makeup dinner of sorts to make up for that, but we've had some of that. Um, let's see. We're still in the photos of kitty cats and whatnot. We celebrated Hanukkah for the first couple nights. Right before we leave to go on vacation, I got in my first ever car wreck. Smashed up my tail light by backing into a pole. It was during kind of a blizzard, and yeah, so that happened right before I went on vacation. Still not fixed yet. And right before we left, we had some water leaking through the skylight, which at this point we think was probably just condensation. Um, my lovely wife got me the guitar I've always wanted, which is amazing. Actually, really amazing. Um, Again, right before we go on vacation, so I got to play it like once. And I looked through some scrapbooks to see whenever I was last in Hawaii, which is in '75, right before we went to came to the States, which technically Hawaii is in the United States. Anyway, so we were in Hawaii. We got there. Absolutely smelled amazing. We had a good day of getting to play around. Ended up signing up for a timeshare, which actually ends up working out for us. We went to a luau. All right, we'll just skip the Hawaii thing because I think we talked about it. And plus, that's a lot of photos. So we get back. Our cats miss us. We end up doing some Christmas stuff. We go see Spider-Man. We have our annual holiday party. Yeah, and that's pretty much our year. Some of the things that we've done here recently weren't super major, but we had an amazing year in review. And if you've listened this long, congratulations, you are ultimate fan. You deserve something. I don't know what that is, but try to figure that out for you. But yeah, regardless, Google Photos, great tool to be able to use. Just fantastic. So that's it for us today. Thanks for being a part of this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us and get your weekly dose of You're Not My Father. So we're available on Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor, and more. And if you found this podcast useful, please spread the word on social media. Tell your friends, your pets, or anybody else who will listen. You can also follow us on Facebook.com/YNMF show. And so that's it for us at You're Not My Father. Remember, if you're a fan of us, then we're a fan of you. Take it easy, stay positive, and remember, good vibes only.